Greetings and salutations, Scribblers. I'm Katie, the founder and CEO of the Scribblers Den, where writing craft meets writing community. Today, we're going to be taking a look at the publishing process itself. This is mostly for authors who take the traditional route, but a lot of it can also be applied to indie or self-published authors as well. So if you're a writer who's new to the scene, listen up. And if you've been here a while, feel free to share this videos with relatives and friends when they ask when your book is going to be available to buy before they inevitably ask you for that free copy. You know exactly what I'm talking about. First off, I'm going to be speaking in some generalities and some averages here. So of course, there are always exceptions for those whose journey is faster and those whose journey is much, much slower. Our imaginary author in this scenario is going to have just finished their first manuscript, so congratulations to them. How long did it take this fictional author? So a first draft can take anywhere from like a month or two to 6 or sometimes even a year. So let's just take them 6 months to hammer out that first draft, right? Now they need to find critique partners and go through a revision of that manuscript. So let's say that takes another 6 months. So we're at a year, right? A year from when they started writing. They've revised it once, and it may or may not be ready to query out to agents at this point. In most cases, a manuscript with just one revision under its belt isn't ready, especially for a first-time author. So let's give them the means and the community to have fantastic beta readers that, or maybe they sign up for the Scribblers Den, Zero Draft to Hero Draft, self-paced revision class. The link is down below in the description. And they take another year to do a really comprehensive revision. While they're doing this, they prepare their query package, right? So now we've hit the 2-year mark, 2 years in, and we have a solid manuscript that's ready to send out to literary agents. Our author starts sending out their queries. So when you hit this stage, on average, rejections usually to come in fast, but requests for pages are a bit slower and could take up to 2 to 3 months. So our author gets a request. They send out their full manuscript. So it's been 3 months. They get that request. They send it out. And then they're probably going to wait another 3 to 6 months, sometimes longer, for the agent to actually read and make their decision on whether or not they want to offer representation. So at this point, now we're getting really close to that 3-year mark. 3 years from when the author started the process of writing. All right. We're going to imagine this author's first book gets them an offer of representation. Now, again, for many authors who get an offer on their first manuscript, there's always an equal number who are querying their third, fourth, or higher number manuscript, right? But the stars are all aligning for our fictional author. So 3 years into the process, they now have a literary agent. Congratulations to them. At this point, their agent is likely going to do at least one more round of revisions or edits with them before sending that book out on submission to editors. So let's give the agents about 6 months to read and get that manuscript back to the author because they're working with a variety of clients, right? And the author to do revisions. We're going to give them a couple months, right? So the book goes out on sub to the list of editors that the agent has created. It's been like maybe 6 to 8 months at this point. So we're approaching that 4-year mark, right? So submission to editors is a lot like querying, but from what I have heard from all the people who are currently on submission and have been on submission with books, it's even slower. So all of those averages, like just double them. Like it is not uncommon to have be on submission for like 6 to 8 months before you even get the hint of somebody might be interested in it, right? So again, we're going to imagine our author is on the golden path. So we're going to give it 6 months when they hear back from an editor that they're interested in taking the book to acquisitions with their publisher. Acquisitions is where the editor meets with the financial team and marketing team and kind of pitches your book as something that will make the publisher money. There are usually at least like 2 rounds of acquisition meetings, and this part takes just a couple of weeks. So we're going to say that from the point that they take that manuscript to acquisitions and get it approved, we're just going to keep it at a month because I don't do difficult math and we're keeping this simple, right? You're still getting the gist of this though. This is a long process, right? You're in it for the long haul. If you have lost track, we have just passed the 4-year mark for when the author started writing that book. So congratulations again to the author. They're getting a book deal. Awesome. There may be some negotiations back and forth, but the contract is often signed and sealed like within a month after the initial offer. Now, the author has a book deal. They have signed their contract. So awesome. The author isn't allowed to tell anybody. Anyone other than like their closest friends or maybe their cats, that they have this deal until the publisher decides that they're going to announce it. So the world at large cannot know about this book deal until the publisher's like, yeah, I'm ready. Let's announce this. And this can happen sometimes fairly quickly. Or in the case of one author I know, it's been over 5 years since like that contract has been signed and the book turned in and they still haven't announced it. Just because publishing is weird. So sometimes it's really short and sometimes it's really long, right? So again, our author is like, they're on that perfect trajectory, right? So we're going to say a 3-month wait. So the author has signed their deal and they have to wait 90 days, 3 more months before they can announce that their book will be coming out in, get this, a year and a half. So from that announcement date, there's always another span of time before that book actually hits the shelves, right? And we're going to do about a year and a half, right? Because again, talking in averages. So between the contract being signed and that publication date, the author is going to do at least one more round of edits with the editor that they've submitted to. Then they'll do a round of copy edits with a copy editor looking specifically at like grammar, spelling, all those kinds of things. And finally, then they'll get pass pages, which is kind of everything is formatted and set up exactly what the book is going to look like. And you kind of just, it's like a proof, like you're going to give it one more once over, right? Then after that, hopefully they're getting advanced reading copies of their book 3 to 6 months before their book actually comes out and is going to be on shelves. And again, that depends on if there's any events coming up, if they're getting a lot of marketing push, things like that, whether or not they're even going to get advanced reader copies. So here we are, 5 years, count them, 5 years after the book was started, and that book is finally available to now buy at your favorite indie bookstore. So congratulations. That is publishing in a nutshell. Of course, like I said, all over the place. Some people, their story takes much, much shorter. Some people it takes much, much longer. So just think about that though. And like I said, when you talk about your book at Thanksgiving or the holiday parties or wherever you happen to be, and they're like, oh, when can I buy it? Just be like, I have a video for you to watch. I need you to understand some things. So just remember what we talked about here. This was a very ideal situation. Most authors do not encounter this. There are delays. Oftentimes, the book that gets you an offer of representation from an agent isn't always the book that gets you a book deal. I know a lot of authors who got their agent with one book, but then they didn't sell until their like second or third manuscript with that agent. So that book that got them the agent didn't get them a book deal. It's weird. Publishing doesn't make a lot of sense a lot of times. So when they're doing that, that means that they've gone through the beginning stages of this journey at least 2 or 3 more times. And then also remember, self-published and indie published works tend to take a little bit less time because they're not waiting around for someone else to offer representation or give that book deal, right? They're kind of going from that, I've edited it, I've revised it, it's really, really good. And then they go into that copy edit phase, the past pages, getting advanced reading copies if they're going to do that. And then their book is available to buy. So they've cut out the middleman, right? So it can be shorter process to do self or indie publishing, but you still have to go through all those steps of creating it, revising it, copying, all those different things. So it's really important just to realize that, right? Third, again, I just cannot emphasize enough. This is just general averages, right? There are going to be people who query and get an offer of rep after a day. And they immediately put the book on sub and a week later it sells. It has happened before. I've read the stories. And it's awesome. We're like, oh my gosh, that is so like, what was publishing thinking on that day? Like, how did they do this? And we love that. We love to see that for an author. But most authors are waiting to announce books that sold years ago, months ago. Publishing just has no rhyme or reason sometimes. And we have to accept that as writers, that money-making portion of the industry isn't always going to be there for us when we think we need it. And And fourth, really important to remember, there is no actual timeline that you need to hit. Time is a construct, and no one is running out of time. You can start writing young or wait until you're older. No matter what, your words matter, and they're going to impact somebody's life. So just keep moving forward and just keep stepping into those challenges and doing them and writing what you need to write and getting it out there. So the next time that you have anyone ask you why it takes so long, send them this video, right? I'd love to hear what your writing or publishing timeline has been. So please tell me about that down in the comments. And we'd also love you to sign up for our newsletter here at the Scribblers Den. The link is also down below in the description. So that's it for this time. That's publishing in a nutshell, all the things that happen, and we will see you next time. Happy writing, Scribblers.